Hi guys, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Megan, and I kind of wanted to just sit down and talk about some things that I've experienced. And I think that a lot of people have these experiences, but they're kind of too afraid to talk about them, or they don't think that they're real, and they kind of convince themselves that it's not real. And I think that we have a tendency to kind of convince ourselves that we're a little bit crazy sometimes when something unexpected happens or something maybe kind of paranormal happens. And I guess I'm just kind of here to say that you're not alone. That I can't really explain it either, but I know that it's real. The very first time that I knew that I could communicate with the other side, I was 24 years old, and I was living in a house with a bunch of other women that lived there, and I had a room all to myself, and I would lay in bed at night with the lights on. So I've always been kind of afraid of the dark. I don't like to be somewhere where there's not a lot of light. Being in the dark really is uncomfortable for me, and it makes me feel unsafe. And it has been ever since I was a child. And I hate to say that, as a woman who's 27 years old, that I'm afraid of the dark, but I think the reality is that it's not that I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of what could happen. So I would be laying in bed, and the lights were on. I was scrolling on my phone, scrolling on Facebook like we all do, and the lights in my room started going on and off. I think you could explain that as maybe like an electric shortage, but it happened a lot, and every time I went into my closet, felt really uncomfortable, and I didn't know what to do. So I reached out to someone who is very close to my family, who, when I was a little girl, she would take us on these ghost tours. And I remember there was this one tour we went on where there was we'd had to go park at the end of a road, and then at the other end of a road, maybe a quarter of a mile down, there was a lantern that would show up at night, and she always had something about her that made her different and special, and someone I knew that I could contact. So I contacted her, and I said, hey, I'm not really quite sure what's going on. I kind of feel like maybe there's a spirit around me or a ghost around me. I'm not really quite sure what to call it, but there's something around that I don't know, and I can feel it. And she said to me, Megan, ever since you were a little girl, I've known that there was something special about you. She said, I'm going to look into this and see what I can do. A couple of days went by, and she messaged me on Facebook, and she said to me, Megan, there's a man's spirit attached to you. And his name is David, and he's around 30 years old, and he's been there for a while, but he's kind of upset and disturbed and doesn't really know what to do. Okay. I was curious because a few months prior, about a year prior, I had this boyfriend, and his name was David, and he was in his 30s. And I kind of thought maybe that was him. And so I asked her, I was like, is there any way that you could look into this some more? And she said, I can try to, but I don't know if that's something that we need to know. And I said, okay, but I would still like for you to look into it. So she did, and she messaged me back a couple of days later and said, I tried to find that answer for you, but the door closed and he left. That was the first time I had ever been around a spirit that I know of and that I was aware of. And I think, ever since I was a little girl, I can remember things that have happened, but this was the first time that really it hit me that, wow, there's something going on that I can't explain, that I don't have a choice over either. It just kind of happens. So I think that if you're feeling alone, or if you feel like you're not alone, or if you feel like you're not sure, or if you feel like that there's something that you can't explain about yourself, I think it's important to know that you're not alone and that there's other people around you that feel that same way. If you're interested in hearing more about ghost stories or things that are kind of unexplained, let me know. I have a whole bunch of stuff I can tell you. If you want to know when my next video is, go ahead and like and subscribe, and also click the notification bell, and I would be so happy to tell you more. Until next time.